Hello everybody, I'm Steve, aka Steve Ninja, and welcome to my channel. So tonight I'm really excited to be finally able to rank the filmography of Terry Gilliam. As you know, he was part of the Monty Python comedy troupe back in the 70s and 80s, and he's been with the group off and on since then. But he's also got a film career where he's directed quite a few movies, and so I'm really excited to be able to rank these. And I actually have one surprise here where there's one movie that I actually put in my honorable mention, and I'll explain a little bit more later. But starting this off at number 12 is a movie that I really don't like very much, and there may be some people that actually like this movie, but it was really disappointing to me, mainly because of the parents who were really kind of a disaster because they were heavy drug users. But the movie is Tideland. This is released in 2005. It has Jeff Bridges and Jennifer Tilly as the parents, and it has a Jodelle Ferland as the daughter. She's really the daughter is really a star of the movie. But this is something I saw in the theater, and then I bought it on DVD. And the only reason why I have it is because it's part of his filmography, and I have all of his movies. So that's the only reason why I keep it. I look at this movie all the time, and I think I really wish I didn't have that, but. It's just I never play it, but I just can't get rid of it though. So, anybody in the comments, if you want to let me know if you like this movie or not, I just don't like it. But at number 11, this is actually his most recent movie, and it's one that I think for him it was just something he really wanted to finish. Because I'll explain later. But the movie is the Man Who Killed Don Quixote. This is released in 2018. I think it's probably going to be his last movie because Terry Gilliam is like 81 now. So, starring Adam Driver, Jonathan Pryce, Stellan Skarsgård. I think the budget on this may not have been very high. And for many people that may know this, he actually tried to make this movie years ago, starring Johnny Depp. And it's if you buy the documentary Lost in La Mancha. It explains all the disaster that this movie went through at the time. He had all kinds of weather issues. I think the set got destroyed, But Terry Gilliam, I know he probably doesn't want to see this movie because it just shows all the mistakes he made and just the problems he had throughout the movie. And eventually, the studios just completely gave up on the movie. They just took a loss and decided not to do it. So. This documents that whole disaster, so it's worth checking out for sure if you're a Terry Gilliam fan at least. Okay, number 10. This one was released in 2013. It's called the Zero Theorem. It's starring Christoph Waltz. He's a two-time Oscar winner, at least with Quentin Tarantino. Anyways, the two Oscars that he won. But I think that I actually kind of like this movie in some ways. I think the budget's a little bit low. It kind of reminds me a little bit more of the earlier Terry Gilliam, but I should really watch this again. I don't know if this would move up maybe a little bit more if I watched it again, but I didn't hate the movie though. Next one, this one was another disaster. Unfortunately, this one is the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus. This was starring Heath Ledger. Some people know that after he did The Dark Knight. I think that was in 2008, I believe. He went to do this movie with Terry Gilliam, and he went at about halfway through production. He went on holiday, and that's when he was found dead. In his hotel room or apartment. I don't recall exactly where it took place, but Terry Gilliam had to kind of salvage this movie, and he had Jude Law, Johnny Depp, and Colin Farrell fill in, playing the same character. You can see they're all wearing white suits here. And they use like a mirror to try to, try to go into like different sort of like, I don't know, dimensions or something. But, they did the best they could to salvage the movie. It also has some excellent cast with it, though. It has Christopher Plummer, Andrew Garfield. It had Tom Waits, Vern Troyer, if you remember Mini-Me from the Austin Powers movies. They just did the best they could. And I actually don't think this movie is that bad. It's just because they had to use 4 actors to play the same character that kind of it's a little bit shaky, but Terry Gilliam did the best he could. So at number 8, this next one is probably the last big budget movie that Terry Gilliam had. This is a movie is the Brothers Grimm. This was released in 2005. This is like I said, number 8, starring Matt Damon. Another Heath Ledger movie. It has Monica Bellucci. I think this movie looks really great. Unfortunately, the story is a little bit where it's a little bit shaky, but I think as far as the way it looks and the special effects, I think are really high caliber in this. And after this, I don't think he did another movie quite like this again. Maybe the studios just kind of gave up on Terry Gilliam at this point, but I actually kind of like this movie in some ways because of the cast and the effects, but the story is just a little bit shaky. At number 7, this is actually I think technically the first Terry Gilliam movie, in my opinion, and I'll explain a little bit more about that later. But the movie is Jabberwocky. This is released in 1977, starring Michael Palin from Monty Python. You can kind of tell Terry Gilliam didn't really know exactly what he was doing yet, and I think he really, on the next movie he did, I think is really where he really shined, and where the kind of legend began on the next one that he did after this. But there's some nice visuals in this, and it has some practical effects that are kind of cool. But the budget may not be extremely high on it. And this is a Criterion edition, so it's anyone that collects Criterions would know, probably have seen this movie. But. Okay, so number 6, this one's also a Criterion release, and it's Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. This is starring Johnny Depp and Benicio del Toro. Some people may kind of wonder why Johnny Depp is bald in this movie. It's because this was written by Hunter S. Thompson. He was a Rolling Stone magazine writer. I think he did a lot of war kind of related articles and military kind of stuff. This has like kind of a lot of drug humor in it. But I actually like this, and I maybe if I watched it again, I may actually move it up higher. But the ones I have in my from 5 to 1, I think are really great. So this movie may never move up in the ranking, but it's a good movie that anyone that checks it out, it's kind of a long movie in some ways, and it's one you kind of have to watch more than once to kind of like it. So number 5, this one I actually really like. This was released in the U.S. in 1989, but it's The Adventures of Baron Munchausen, starring John Neville. This is released in, like I said, 1989. I just saw yesterday that this movie has Sarah Polley, a really young director named Sarah Polley that was also an actor as well. But I read something where she said that Terry Gilliam kind of had an unsafe set because they used a lot of smoke, that she said she had trouble breathing during the movie. So unfortunately that happened. But as far as visuals in this, I think it has some great visuals. It's a great kind of adventure story, and I've always liked it. It has a high, I think, at Rotten Tomatoes it has like a 92% rating, but I think the box office wasn't good on this movie at all. So number 4, this one was like I said, in 1981, Terry Gilliam did the movie Time Bandits, and I think this is really when he really started kind of coming into his own at that point. This movie, the stars are basically all little people, and it also has a lot of big time stars in it as well, just to name a few. It has Sean Connery, David Warner. It has also John Cleese from Monty Python. I've always loved this. It's just I saw this when I was a kid, and it's always stuck with me. Just kind of adventure story where they're kind of time travelers, So and it's very British, But I've always loved this. This is also a Criterion release as well. So at number 3, I have 12 Monkeys. I think people that aren't necessarily Terry Gilliam fans kind of like this movie because it's starring Bruce Willis, and his career was still kind of on fire at the time. This is released in 1995. It has Madeline Stowe, Christopher Plummer, and Brad Pitt. I think it's a really interesting story, and so I'm glad to get this is the Arrow video release, and it's also on 4K now as well. And number 2, this is one that most people will probably have at number 1 if they're ranking Terry Gilliam movies, but I'll explain further about that. But This is Brazil, released in 1985. It's starring Jonathan Pryce and Robert De Niro. De Niro he's only in like 3 scenes in the movie, but he kind of takes over, steals every scene that he's in, and the character is really kind of mysterious, and it's kind of cool. But this movie, like, Terry Gilliam, the Universal Studios really kind of took away the movie. They made him shoot a different ending because the original ending was a little bit too dark and not Hollywood enough. It wasn't something that Americans would get into necessarily, and they're American studios, so that's what they were worried about. But this has like 2 or 3 different versions within the Criterion Collection, and I've always loved it though. It's like I said, it's probably his most ambitious, probably visually the best movie. But I have 2 more movies here that kind of go ahead of it though. So my honorable mention, and this is a Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I'm sure most people probably would put this in their top 13, but the reason I didn't, because Terry Gilliam co-directed this movie with Terry Jones from Monty Python, and I think that both of them were new directors. They hadn't really done a lot, and I know that Terry Gilliam he's in the movie quite a bit. I think when he's not on screen, he's directing, and Terry Jones is acting, and then kind of vice versa. But Terry Gilliam actually played the character Patsy, the character that had the coconuts, because they couldn't afford horses, so he's using coconuts to kind of make the galloping kind of sound, and it's kind of like a Foley artist would do. Artists people that do like a lot of the sound effects in movies. That's kind of what they use, but they did it in a comical way. And Terry Gilliam was also the soothsayer bridge keeper. The guy that you had to answer his 3 questions to be able to cross the bridge. That's a hilarious character. And he also a lot of people may know this, but Terry Gilliam was the animator for Monty Python and the Flying Circus, and he was hired by them to do all the animation between the sketches. And he did that, and in this movie they had a character, the cartoon monster called the Black Beast of Arg, and it showed in the movie. The artist, all of a sudden the artist has a fatal heart attack, and he collapses, and all of a sudden the monster disappears. That was Terry Gilliam, the cartoonist that they showed, the animator that they showed in that scene. So he did quite a bit of that kind of work. So I don't know if he did 50% of the directing, or if Terry Jones did a majority or not. But that's why I didn't include it in my top 13 ranking 13, and I just made an honorable mention. But I really encourage people to rank, give me their ranking, how they would rank these, and if they want to put Holy Grail in there, they can. Holy Grail is like my 4th favorite movie from Monty Python, 4th favorite movie of all time. So I felt like if I did this ranking, I would put Holy Grail as number 1, and I felt like that kind of invalidated the rest of his work, just because it's his first movie, and as a co-director, and I felt like he did other work just by himself. So I didn't include it. I just wanted to make it an honorable mention. But at number 1, this is actually my 5th favorite movie of all time. So this is why I have it at number 1. It's The Fisher King. This is released in 1991, starring Robin Williams and Jeff Bridges, and also has a Mercedes Ruehl, whom actually won an Oscar for her character in this movie. And I've always loved this. It's kind of a dated movie. Some of the music is kind of dates the movie a little bit, but I've always loved it, so I had to put it at number 1. I like it more than Brazil, even though Brazil, like I said, is visually a better movie. I've always just liked this movie more. It's just, I don't know, it has like 3 or 4 great endings to it. The movie the endings kind of pile on top of each other at the end of it. So that's why I have it that way. But like I said, please include your 13 or 12, and you can tell me would you include Holy Grail in your 13 in your ranking. Let me know if you put that in there, or just give me your 13, and I'll know that way that you do include Holy Grail in the ranking. So, but please, like I said, please put a like on the video. Please consider subscribing to my channel. And have a good night. Thank you. Bye.